Hi, Ron Craig back again, continuing to tell you about my unique bookcase building project. I told you I built 3 bookcases. They're all the same size, and I only built them one at a time. I only got the material for them one at a time. I have a hatchback. I could bring that material home in it. I didn't have a truck, so I only could get the material for one bookcase at a time. Besides that, in cutting them up and assembling them, I could only do one bookcase at a time because there were too many parts to try to find places for them, and I'll explain that later when we started staining and polyurethaning and so forth. So you go to the store and you look at the lumber. You decide what you want, and these side pieces, remember, they're 1x12s and 6 feet long. And some of them are a little bit longer than others, a little bit over 6 feet. So you have to take your tape measure. Make sure you take your tape measure with you and a pen or pencil and a paper to write down notes and need to do some calculating. So I got those boards, picked them out, the best looking ones that didn't have any flaws in them. And then I picked out the same thing for the shelving. But some of those boards are just a little bit over 6 feet, so those are the ones you want to pick for the shelving, because when you cut those in two, you're going to have saw cuts that take out a little bit of the space. So I did that, and so I got the shelvings cut. Now, there's 6 shelves, but there's 7 boards. So I had to have an extra board, shelf-size board, for each bookshelf. 3 bookshelves, 3 extra boards, so 1 extra 6-foot piece did it. It all worked out. No waste on this project. That's one of the unique things about it with this size. Okay, got them home. Got all the pieces home. Now the work begins. I got a couple of cheap sawhorses. I laid these boards out on the sawhorses and started sanding. I used 220 paper and a lot of sanding, a lot of work, and then all the edges and both sides, and you don't have to do the ends, but then lay one aside and then get the others. I did the cutting first, cut the shelves, and then did all the sanding. 220 paper. Well, then you have to do the staining. You wipe the dust off, of course, and get them clean. And then I did this. I took these screws, 3-inch screws, and I put 1 in each end, 2 in each end of the shelving, 2 in each end of the sideboards, so that I could lay them down on the sawhorses and the wood would not actually be touching the sawhorses. Stain. My wife did the staining. She's good at that. We found out that it's best to take like an old t-shirt and instead of a brush puts too much stain on it, and then you take that cloth and dip it in the stain and rub it in real good. So we did a staining, all the staining, every piece with the screws in the end, so that we could stand them up, lean them up against the wall without the boards touching the walls or the floor. That has to dry good. Then the next step is polyurethaning. The same screws in it so that you can put it on the horses without getting the wood touching the horses. So it takes 2 or 3 coats of polyurethane, but they have to dry between coats. So this is not going to be done in a day. You're going to have to be willing to spend a little time. You can get online and find different bookcases already made. A lot of it is not real wood, and it has a veneer on it, and they're usually expensive, and they're not custom made. But the biggest thing, a problem I had, I actually got online to look. I couldn't find the size I needed. They're all too big or too small, and so I had to make my own. So do the polyurethane 1 coat at a time. Now, actually, before we did that, when you stain this wood, it kind of causes some of the grain to rise up a little bit. So we took some fine sandpaper, again, or 220 sandpaper, and knocked that off, just a light sanding to knock those raised places off, and then wipe that off, and then we polyurethane 1 time. And then let that dry, and then polyurethane it again. And then if you want to put a third coat, it has to dry again, and then you again put it each piece across the sawhorses and put the polyurethane on all the sides, not the ends necessarily, except these shelves where part of it is sticking out. You'll need to put the stain and the polyurethane on that part. Now, in some cases, the polyurethane, the first coat, may raise some grain a little bit, and so we didn't want to use sandpaper, so we used this right here. This little sponge with the rougher place on one side, that works just fine to knock that the raised grain off and make it smooth again. You want these smooth so that your books will go in right. Well, after we got it all cut, stained, polyurethane, with the screws still in it, and wiped down clean, they're good and dry. Then I brought them in the house, laid a big sheet out on the floor, on a rug in the living room, and laid it all out. And then I took the screws out of the end, every end, a bunch of screws, and then prepared to put it all together. And that'll be the assembly. The first video was the design. This video is about the preparation. The third one will be the assembly, and that has some very interesting points about it as well. Looking forward to sharing that with you. But right now, you have a good day.